ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track, and ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Boom boom, 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 boom boom.
Santa baby, just slip a sable under the tree for me. Been an awful good girl, Santa baby, so hurry down the chimney tonight. Santa baby, a 54 convertible to light blue. I'll wait up for you, dear Santa baby, so hurry down the chimney tonight.
24 minutes after the hour, this is The Other Side of Midnight. I always love seeing Cristina Fontanelli and having the opportunity to have her on the program, not only because she's just a delightful person, but because I really feel like it's Christmas whenever I get to hear Cristina Fontanelli, whether it's in the form of an interview, in the form of a song, or in the form of anything that she does. She is an award-winning singer, PBS television personality, you name it, she does it all. Cristina Fontanelli, it's great to see you again.
Buongiorno, buongiorno.
Yeah, now,
Good
even
morning.
though it's dark out, we can still say buongiorno?
Yes,
I love it. That's great.
I made that up, but anyway.
I like it.
Good morning or hello.
You are as busy this time of year as any person I know. You are just like Ricochet Rabbit going back and forth, right?
Oh, I really am. I mean, I'm running my 21 years of running Christmas in Italy, producing it and singing and hosting. And they added on, now I'm going to Italy the day after my show.
That is phenomenal. So, by the way, Christmas in Italy, we're going to talk about that. That's Sunday, December 15th. If you're in the New York area, that's in Greenwich Village. You can go to ticketstripe.com/Italian Christmas Joy and get tickets. But how you've been doing it 21 years?
21
Amazing.
years, Frank.
Amazing. What is Christmas
Older
in
than
Italy?
Carmine.
Exactly. By a lot. What is Christmas in Italy in terms of a show?
Yeah, well, I got inspired 21 years ago. I sang at an event. There was a New York Times reporter. I sang Torno Sorrento, and I think Mama, and they came running up to me. Oh, we love that. We love that. What is that? And I said, I can't believe they don't know what this. And I decided to do a show once a year, Christmas, matinee for the old timers to come, the whole family, the children. And so it's gone on from there. It's been at Carnegie Hall. It's been all over New York.
So you're doing this big performance on the 15th, and then you're going out to Italy the next day?
I am. I'm flying to Bologna, Italy, and then going to Ravenna, which is a little south of Portofino. And it's the hometown of, they have his bones, Dante Alighieri, the famous poet, the Divine Comedy, which is what we're living through right now.
That is for sure. Which circle are we in right now? That's a question I have.
Exactly. And I was singing, and it's so beautiful, the Teatro Dante Alighieri, and in the Basilica of San Francesco that has his bones in the...
You're kidding. Wow.
Yes, it's very exciting.
Were you fluent in Italian before you learned to sing in Italian?
You're so smart. I love your interviews.
Oh,
you're amazing.
Wow,
no one asks me these.
Yet
you're
another
great.
reason I love having
you're
you.
You're great. But no, I wasn't. When I grew up, I was Italian-American with all that goes along with that, right?
Sure.
But no knowledge or understanding of what that really meant. And then I started studying opera. And I said, well, I had an acting background. I graduated from the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. I said, if I'm going to sing opera, I have to understand what I'm singing. So I studied Italian.
That is great. So you actually learned Italian through music?
I did. Literally studied it, though. I went to the Italian Cultural Institute, and then I had a boyfriend that was a Spanish tenor. He only spoke Spanish, or I could communicate in Italian. I sang for the Italian community. I got fluent.
That's
in
great.
Italian.
When you're in Italy, how many times have you been to Italy?
Not as many times as Japan and Korea. I think this is my third or fourth time there. Yeah.
When you're in Italy, obviously all the regions have very distinct dialects. Do you find that the Italian that you speak, I don't know, it doesn't necessarily jive that well with the locals when you try to be conversant?
Well, that's true. I mean, my grandparents had spoken Molfettese dialect, Molfetta. So I finally learned Italian so I could speak. I was all excited. I could speak to my grandparents. And then they said, well, you have to learn Molfettese. You have to learn the dialect.
It's so funny that you say that, because my grandfather was from Naples, and we went to see Life is Beautiful when it was in theaters. Great picture, great movie. And, I said to my grandfather after the film, you probably didn't need the subtitles at the bottom of the screen. He said, honestly, no, I was using the English subtitles because the Italian they spoke in that picture was a lot different than the Italian or the Napolitan that he spoke regularly.
Yeah. I think it's more regulated now, with the TV and everything.
That's probably true. So you've had a really diverse career, from opera to television to voice acting. And by the way, at 30 minutes after the hour, this is The Other Side of Midnight. My guest is Cristina Fontanelli. Was there a defining moment when you knew you wanted to pursue this path?
Well, I went into show business. I wanted to be an actress. I saw Gone with the Wind when I was 11 years old. My parents took me. It was in the movie theater, and when Scarlett O'Hara pulls the rotten turnip out of the ground and says, "As God is my witness, I'll never go hungry again." I said, I want to be an actor, an actress. So I went home. I got all the Shakespeare plays. And then I went to the American Academy after high school, and they were always sending me notes. Cristina, you have to lose 15 pounds. And I said, well, you know what? I went to my first opera. I read the libretto, Tosca. It's very dramatic. She kills herself at the end, jumps off the bed. I said, that's what I'll do. I'll sing opera. I can sing, I can act, and I can eat the lasagna. So that is why I became an opera singer.
You performed in some of the most prestigious venues in the world, and you're continuing to do so. Is there a performance that stands out as the most memorable for you?
Oh, Frank, there is one. There really is. I was on tour with the Mantovani Orchestra in Japan, and so it was in Tokyo, and the Japanese are so polite, and you're not even sure they're enjoying your music sometimes because they're so polite. But that night there was a blind man in the audience, and I was singing in Japanese.
Wow.
The song Sukiyaki. I don't know if you remember that one. It was a hit. But anyway, so he was so excited that I was singing in Japanese that he started yelling, and the whole audience started clapping and happy. And I said, wow, I'll never forget that night. That was amazing.
How did you like Japan to visit?
Well, I just felt like a fish out of water, so to speak. But eventually, I went there about 6 or 7 times, and I always had a translator, like someone to help me. The last time I was there was nobody. He couldn't show up, and that's when I really got close to the Japanese people. Yeah.
The #1 selling product of its kind with over 20 years of research and innovation. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
This episode is brought to you by Factor. Optimize your nutrition this year with Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal service. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved, ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Choose from 40 weekly options across 8 dietary preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Eat smarter at factormeals.com/listen50 and use code listen50 for 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Factormeals.com/listen50. Code listen50. Terms and conditions apply.
Oh my God, it's the coolest thing ever. Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? Well, check this out. It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country, anywhere nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. They ship Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garten's famous cakes. Seriously. So if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT.
Faraday presenta Ojos con Alergia y Picazón contra el jardinero. Y el ganador es Faraday Extra Fuerte. Para aliviar la picazón de los ojos por alergia, actúa más rápido y supera a Claritin y Flonase aún a las 24 horas. Faraday, adelante.
You know, it's funny. A fellow that we have on once in a while is an American, but he's lived in Japan for the last 35 years or so. And his name's Dave Spector. He's become one of the biggest TV personalities in Japan.
Really?
He hosts a Japanese talk show.
Well, then maybe I
but he's
need
American.
to go.
Yeah, I'll connect you guys next time you're there. One of the things, I'm a radio geek, and I've really valued the opportunity to work with and learn from a lot of people that I grew up listening to. As someone that's worked with legends in singing, people like Tony Bennett, people like Joel Gray, what have you learned from collaborating with icons like that?
Well, they were so, I'm going to use the word organic. I remember sitting backstage. I was just a kid. I was on the show with Tony Bennett the first time in Boston at the Park Plaza. And I remember him becoming the music. He just had a trio, and his voice and Frankie Lane, I'm really dating myself. I guess I was like 18 years old. But Frankie Lane sang into his 80s, and he shared with me, he was so nice, he wanted to be an opera singer.
Really?
So he studied breathing. Like he couldn't afford it. And Sergio Franchi, too. I sang with Sergio Franchi, and he loved opera. But, opera, you don't make money sometimes right away, and they started getting paid to sing popular music. That happened to me, too.
My favorite Frankie Lane song is the theme song to Blazing Saddles.
There you go. That's right. That's right.
If you're just tuning in, this is The Other Side of Midnight. I'm Frank Morano. We're chatting with Cristina Fontanelli. But you've been described as ambassadorial, bridging classical music with contemporary audiences. How do you approach blending the old with the new?
Well, that's a great question. I was called by Hollywood this past year for Tim Dillon, a great up-and-coming, he's pretty well-known, a comedian. He was playing Carnegie Hall last fall, and he wanted an opera singer to open for him. So the Hollywood agent called me, and he said, well, we're considering you. And I said, well, whoever you take, if you don't hire me, you need somebody that knows the stage, because to throw yourself out on Carnegie Hall, the big hall. So they took me. I went out there, thank God, because I have so much experience. They said, sing, and they had the timer there. You have to finish by the time. Well, I sang Un bel di Madame Butterfly, the Andrea Bocelli, O Sole Mio. And the audience, young people that came for the comedians, were screaming.
That's great.
They loved me. I actually turned around to see if the applause sign went on or something. And the next day I was at a Unico meeting, and I said I was at Carnegie Hall. The man said, oh, my son was there. He got him on the phone, and he said, oh, she sang O Sole Mio. She was great. So you know what? To me, that's very meaningful. I reached another generation, and they loved it.
I've now heard you sing in 3 different languages. As a multilingual artist, how does singing in different languages affect your connection to the music and to the audience?
Well, I that was my choice. I actually sing in 9 languages.
Wow.
Yeah, I learned Japanese when I went there. I learned Korean. I was singing Yiddish because I started out in the Borscht Belt. And Spanish, French, German, Italian. But you know what it is? If you sing at least one tune, at least in their native language, you connect with an audience unbelievably well, So it's a little scary at times. When I sang in Japanese, I used to get nervous that I might change a vowel because it could be not a nice word.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
I did my best, and I think I pulled it off.
So you're talking about these Christmas in Italy concerts. And again, if people are in the New York area, they should absolutely make an effort to see you. Sunday, December 15th, 3 o'clock p.m., St. Anthony of Padua Church at 154 Sullivan Street. You can buy tickets by going to ticketstripe.com/Italian Christmas Joy, or you can call 212-967-1926. That's 212-967-1926. Your Christmas in Italy concerts have become a beloved tradition. What inspired you to create these performances, and what can audiences expect this year? Anything new this year, or is it the same thing for the last 20 years?
Well, it's sort of the same but different. So we're in the oldest Italian church in the United States of America, which I think is very historical. We've been at Carnegie Hall. We've been at many wonderful theaters, but this is special for our roots. And we have 50 children this year. Most of them are coming from the Hoboken Catholic Academy, which is connected to St. Anne's Church in Hoboken, New Jersey, where my mother lived and where I sang for like 20 years.
Wow.
And so it's so special to me because these kids, the school is right across the street from St. Anne's. So they're going to sing in Italian. They're going to dance. And we have mandolins, guitar, accordion, and every year has something different. I'm going to have my dear pal, Denise Richardson from PBS, who was we co-hosted together,
Wonderful.
Andrea Bocelli in Central Park. She'll be our MC. And a great young tenor. I try to give that, it's through my foundation, the Cristina Fontanelli Foundation, that I produce these. And I help the kids. They get chances to perform. And we give money. We're trying to raise money for the homeless in the area.
And I love that. That's outstanding. When you're not performing around Christmas, what do you do for Christmas? What does Christmas mean to you personally? How do you celebrate it with your family?
Well, Frank, I'm so blessed because I actually have a half brother and a half sister that we got so close. And
Where do you fall in age? Are you the youngest, the oldest, in between?
Well, I had a younger brother that passed from a car accident, actually. And these are my half, so they're younger than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it's beautiful. I have nephews and family. It's Italian. We have to have our family.
That's great.
We have to have family.
That's great. I have 3 halves, so I always tell them that between the 3 of them, they add up to 1.5 siblings. But I don't view them as halves. I just call them,
exactly.
You voiced Nona in the PBS Christmas special, Lydia Bastiniak's Christmas special on PBS. What's your favorite Christmas dish or tradition from your Italian heritage?
Oh, they're so cute. Well, I always think of my Aunt Lena in Brooklyn, that she made the lemon drop cookies. Do you know which ones I mean?
Oh, yeah. My grandmother made those, too. My aunt still makes them.
I bet they're wonderful.
Yeah, very good.
Because I'm not going to say the name of the bakery, but it's supposed to be authentic. I had them recently. I said, no way, not even
Really?
Not even
Okay, well, you have to tell me off air.
I
Good.
need Aunt Lena. Or maybe your
my Aunt Madeline can make them, too. Yeah.
There you go.
You were honored repeatedly as a distinguished artist of Italian descent. How do you think your Italian heritage has influenced your artistry in your career?
Well, totally, it's influenced. Now, like I said, when I was young and starting out, I didn't understand being Italian. It was in my blood, But we have passion. Italians are so talented that we take it for granted. The best actors, the best singers, designers, artists. Sometimes we don't value it enough. I really didn't understand my gift. So I'm very pleased that this is how it's turned out. I had no idea. I got hired by PBS because I speak Italian. I won my Best Actress awards, 2 international film festivals, an Italian short comedy film. I'm going to Italy because they actually said to me, Cristina, we need you here. We need the spirit of Christmas. We want you to work with the children. And I said, well, okay, I might have to fly back here on Christmas Eve, which I'm not thrilled about. But if they need me, they need me.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I think that, obviously it's a bummer to fly on Christmas Eve, but what a great opportunity. I've been to Italy only once, about 5 years ago, on a trip with listeners, with Joe Piscopo, and we had a great time.
Oh, wonderful.
But I'm hoping to go back next year for my cousin Andrea's wedding in Florence. For someone listening who's visiting Italy for the first time, what's the one cultural experience that you'd insist they not miss?
Whoa. That's not an easy one to answer.
No, it's not. We ask tough questions
I
here.
know. That is really, Rome is coming to mind, the Colosseum. I don't know. But, there's so many things to see in Italy. La Scala and, Florence, the David's, all the sculpture. I'm sorry. I lost the prize here
Fair
because
enough.
I can't answer.
Okay, fair enough. Do more than one thing. I guess that's the answer. We're talking with Cristina Fontanelli. If you want to learn more about her, you can go to her website, CristinaFontanelli.com. It's Cristina with no H and standard spelling of everything else. And you can also learn a little bit about the Cristina Fontanelli Foundation, which does a lot of great work. Hosting PBS specials for Andrea Bocelli, that must have been pretty incredible. How do you prepare for such a high-profile opportunity like that?
Well, Denise, God bless her, she's a real pro at that, and she's been doing it for years. She prepares like crazy. I'm sort of like the Frank Sinatra school of preparation. Remember, they used to talk about him that he didn't really rehearse that much. I sort of wing it. I'm good on the fly, I really am. So I didn't prepare a lot. I just had basic things. And when I was hired, the producer that hired me said, "We need your energy. We need your energy." So I was very energetic. And the director on that day said, "Will you please tone it down?" And I said, "But he needs my energy. And I saw his face. I said, "I better tone this down." So other than that, I almost got an exclusive interview with Mama Bocelli. I started speaking to her in Italian about the spaghetti, and we were talking about her son, and I said, get the cameras. And at the last minute, the record company came in and said, "What is this for?" And I explained they're raising money for PBS, and she said, "Oh, Mama Bocelli, she has to eat her pasta now," and she just took her right. I said, "Oh, darn, we didn't get the interview."
What's it like hearing your voice in radio ads like for Domino's Pizza?
Oh, it's so much fun. Well, it's wild. I don't really like to listen to my voice, but I was doing an interview on the Italian radio recently, and we played a recording that I haven't listened to in so long. I said, "Wow, that's a really good singer." I'm like, "Really? That's me." We get so picky. So what's it like? I don't know,
I know you said you don't rehearse, you don't over-rehearse. You referred to it as the Sinatra school. You've been not just on PBS, but CBS and a lot of other television outlets. Do you approach television work differently than a live performance? If so, how? Or no, the same thing.
No, I think that it's immediate. You have to be very responsive. It's almost the same. You're not singing a song, but you're in the groove. You have to be in the loop. I even had done a spot for CBS with Kevin James. It was fun.
Really?
They dressed me up like Brunhilde. It was a CBS for football season.
Oh, fun.
And they gave me two things to say, and I was dressed up. We were in front of the green screen, and the director said, "All right, go, do it." So I did it. And he said, they told me that normally no one gets it on the first take, but it was done. It was fine.
You're a natural. That's great.
I think I'm just a natural. I really... in some ways.
You've sung for presidents. We've talked about that before. Yes. You sang at Mickey Rooney's 90th birthday.
Oh, yes.
Is there anyone left on your dream list either to perform with or for?
Whoa. I can only say this. I don't know about with, but what I really would love is to win an Academy Award. Huh. I'm a singer, but for some reason it's an Academy Award that would make me really happy.
All right. Well, you got to thank me. I want to get on the list of people to be thanked.
There you go.
We'll have to come up with a way to, get you an Oscar. How many operas would you say you've been in?
Oh, 20.
20. If you could live in any opera for a day, Which one would you pick?
Well, the one I sing the most, and I'm not Japanese, but I've sung Madame Butterfly. And I even was in Japan in the special Nagasaki where it takes place on a day when they had all the costumes on. So it's always in my memory of what it really looked like. And I don't want to live her life. It was very tragic. She kills herself at the end. You know, the world has changed. We don't kill ourselves anymore when the bum leaves us or the guy turns out to be not so great.
No doubt.
You know what we do? We go and eat the pizza. That's what I do. Then I feel better.
You talked about how Frankie Lane and others had aspired to be opera singers, but they weren't able to kind of roll with the financial punches in order to make that happen. If someone's listening right now, what advice would you give to young artists aspiring to have a career as dynamic and as diverse as yours?
Well, I think that, first of all, they need to be very devoted to what they're doing. There's a lot of sacrifice, and you have to prepare. I've done a little bit of teaching, not a lot because I'm so busy, but sometimes people come and they say, okay, I'll have a lesson. And then, it's not one lesson. You have to be determined, like a great ball player or, a great athlete to perfect your craft. And as far as being diversified, for my personality, it's great because I didn't want to be just locked down into the sublime world of the opera. It's beautiful. But I love people and I love to talk to people and meet them and experience all kinds of things. So for me, I've used my talent in different ways and I'm happy about that.
I think that's great. My guest has been Cristina Fontanelli. You can see her in person in the New York area, December 15th. Christmas in Italy. If you want to get tickets, you can call 212-967-1926 or go to ticketstripe.com/Italian Christmas Joy. If you're listening around the country, you can learn about Cristina, see some of her work, hear some of her work at CristinaFontanelli.com. Cristina, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Frank. Grazie.
Thank you. If you want to hear a bit more of Cristina Fontanelli, just turn your radio volume up a bit louder.